Good evening, everybody. Everybody having a great time so far? Who's a first-time visitor to a GTBN event? All right, great show of hands. Thank you so much for being here, especially first-timers. And for those of you that have been here before, hopefully you're getting a good feel for the type of folks that are here on these at these great events, the type of venues, and we want to keep doing this bigger and better all the time. So thank you so much for coming back. We really appreciate it. So first off, welcome to the Georgia Tech Business Network. This kind of event is what we're all about. We want to do several of these events every year and give you an opportunity to network amongst Georgia Tech and Georgia Tech friends, as well as hear from tremendous speakers on incredible topics. So, to put it in a nutshell, that's what GTBN is all about. So, welcome here to the set of the NBA on TNT. Pretty cool to see this. You see it on TV a lot. And, right back in the back, I see you sitting at the desk, Laura. Great job. Maybe we'll give somebody an opportunity to get a picture back there later on. But you look very natural doing that. Nice job. First thing I want to do is a huge thank you to one of our board members, Jared Dent. He's back over here on the other side. Give him a hand, please. As soon as we heard about this idea, we said, yes, go, do it. So he did a great job of getting this set up, and then he's had a cast of others that have helped him put this together, and then thank you to the board of GTBN for supporting his efforts and putting on this event tonight. So thank you to all. First, I want to also thank our sponsors. We've got, of course, Turner tonight for providing us with the space and the opportunity to be here, as well as McAllister's Deli for the fantastic spread in the back. One little thing, it's McAllister's in West Midtown, so be sure to drop by there when you're in that area, as well as on the back of your badge, there's a discount coupon to give you a little extra incentive to hop on over there and enjoy what they have to offer. Lastly, I want to thank our panel of our own NBA All-Star panel here. So we're really excited. I'm going to turn it over here to Pete Scott, who's the VP of Emerging Markets here at Turner Studios, and they're going to put on a fantastic show. And right? Yeah. There he is. There he is. That's a nice picture. Very good. But anyway, thanks again, everybody. My name's Kevin Kiernan. I'm the president of GTBN, and I couldn't be more happy that everybody's here with us tonight. So, Pete, all yours.
So welcome to our home. This is Turner Studios. You are sitting inside the NBA. Sorry we couldn't get Shaq or Kenny or the guys to show up. They're kind of busy right now. Get ready for this magical thing that's going to happen on Sunday and all next week, March Madness. So the company is buzzing right now with getting ready with that. That's a huge revenue draw for us. We have teams on 18 different platforms working really, really hard to make sure that it's a great experience. So we welcome you. We're glad you're here. Big fan of Georgia Tech. I'm still working on that underground tunnel to connect us, so maybe we can work that out later, or we just get all of your students to come work for us here at Turner. So what I do is I manage emerging media and innovation for the company, and I work across all the brands to look at new businesses, new technologies, and to bring really smart people into the company. And what you have tonight is people that are inside the company and people that are outside the company. And what we really want to do is make this a very casual conversation about media, where it's going. We are now, Chris and I, who are Turner employees, now we're AT&T employees. So that's a different feeling. And we need to figure out how we can leverage their database and our wonderful IP to deliver great personalized experiences to all of our consumers. But that's going to be hard work. You're also going to hear from Buddy Scott, who's from Magic Leap. We have a strategic partnership with Magic Leap through AT&T, where you're going to be able, in mid-April, to go to an AT&T store and buy the headsets, and hopefully soon connect to 5G on those headsets and have really cool, awesome experiences with HBO, with CNN, with NBA, etc. And then on my far right is John Miranda, and he's an amazing guy. He's a futurist for Salesforce, and I can't tell you how lucky you are to have him here. He spoke in front of 150 employees today and sort of blew their socks off on where the future of media is going and why it's important for us as a company to pay attention to those signals. because it's always about signals, right? Engineers are known for what's the signal and what do you do about that signal. So first I'm going to introduce Chris. Chris and I have been with the company, I think probably if we were to combine the amount of years, maybe 50 or 60 years. It's kind of crazy. But we still love this place. We still think it's a great place to work and it's a great environment to test new things. We're blessed to have a guy like Ted Turner and his DNA still circulating the building. And I think you're going to hear that from Chris today on the new project he's working with Cartoon. Again, we're going to make this casual. I'll introduce the speakers, and then I have some sort of pointed questions that I'll ask them, and then I'll obviously ask you if you have some questions again. So, is that good? Everybody's good there? Okay. So Chris, why don't you go first?
Okay. Don't play the video yet. I'll talk a little bit first. It's worth saying, I think he's the most extroverted person in the company. I'm probably the least extroverted person in the company, so please bear with me and don't judge me based on his standard.
Yeah.
As I said, I've been at Cartoon Network for about 20 years now. I came into the digital business there, and I'm still there, and I love it. What I loved about it is that it keeps evolving, keeps changing. Obviously, the technologies have changed a lot since 2000. The generations that we've seen come through, the millennials, and now the Gen Z, Y, whatever you want to call them next, are coming through. They're all expecting different things from us, and that's kept my job very dynamic. And I love that. I also love going back to that entrepreneurial spirit that you talked about. Was you got to do things that I don't think we could have done in sometimes even bigger companies that are maybe watching you more closely than people have been watching us sometimes. So as a result, we got to do things, very interesting things that I'm very proud of. The one I'll talk about, no, wait, before I say that, I also want to kiss up a little bit. The product designer of this thing that I'm going to show you is a Georgia Tech alum. The information designer is a Georgia Tech alum, and I think at least 2 of the engineers are Georgia Tech alum. So they're very well represented on this project. So thank you very much for contributing to that. So this project, which I guess I will let you now just play the video if you don't mind, and I'll talk about what you've seen.
Should we get out of the way? Like, are we blocking the view? Because I was sure. Okay.
So what did you just see? Because that was a bunch of colors and noises and people talking. The one thing I will say about innovation that I've learned in this role in particular is a lot of stuff comes from a lot of new ideas, a lot of interesting ideas comes from a lot of constraints. So we've been designing and developing applications for kids. And as you can imagine, that comes with a lot of restrictions, legal ones, developmental concerns about where they are, what they can process. We work for a giant media company that has concerns about the brand and how that brand is going. So what we develop, we really tailor around those kids and what they're looking for. This app in particular is almost the second iteration of an app that we started about 2 years ago. That concept was based on a single show in which, at the early stages of the development of the show, my team was out there working with the show creator, and it was all about these kids in a show that were collecting all these weird swords. Like each episode, they'd have a weird sword, like a skunk sword, a singing, Viking sword, a robot sword. It was just very, very different swords. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted the kids to be collecting while they're watching. So what we did is we developed an app that would listen to what episode you were watching, it would match the episode that you're watching, and then gift you with a collectible sword that was from that episode. And that moment, which is another reason why I'm still here, was magical to kids. Like every focus group we had with them, and then every time we talked to them, they were like, how did you do that? It's like, we're pretty jaded at this point. It's Shazam. It's nothing more complex than that. It's like we've all used it many times. But for them, they just collected a sword directly from the television, and that was very interesting. So for us, okay, that idea worked really well. How do we then take that outside of that one show and blow it up to something even bigger? So this is an app that literally just launched on Monday called Cartoon Network Arcade. And what it does is it takes all of our shows, Teen Titans Go, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Craig of the Creek, all the different shows that are around that our audience loves, and lets them collect character figurines from that. Now that then plugs into a larger game, something we didn't do with the original Magiswords app, the previous one I was talking about. But this one allows you now to collect these figures and then play a bunch of mini games with them. So we gave them something to do with that collection. We also added, and I think this is interesting and I'll shut up, we added the ability to, all we're doing is having the camera on so that you're supposed to put the TV in, in the box so that it looks like it's scanning the actual television when it's all sleight of hand because we're really just listening to the audio. The video has nothing to do with anything. They all assume that it's really jumping out of the TV at them if you saw that, including, I really shouldn't say this, including our Google partner, because this is on Apple and iOS and Android. Our Google partner was like, are you doing machine learning? Is this, are you using our stuff? Like, no, that's sleight of hand. It's all just audio recognition. And so I think that moment, that magic moment is sort of fun, and I think what we're seeing is a lot of kids are going to like that. So for us, I feel like I could go on for hours about all the things we've talked about, what we've built over the years, but this is the most recent one, and that's what you just saw playing up there.
So what's cool is that like this is what we're trying to do in the media business, is understand that people are using phones, are using devices, younger generations are using it. So how do we embrace it as opposed to trying to run away from it? So Buddy, you guys should know that Buddy used to work at Turner. He used to run all of our new business for NBA Digital. So not sure if a lot of people know, we have a strategic relationship with NBA. So we operate NBA TV, the channel, it's right next door. We also operate and manage all of their digital applications. So anything from League Pass, if any of you have League Pass and can watch the Hawks or the Celtics or the Lakers, whatever your team, we build those apps. So Buddy was instrumental in sort of helping those products get off the ground, but more importantly, he was sort of the champion of VR, AR, and mixed reality. So he worked very, very closely with Magic Leap, and imagine that, they loved him. So they offered him a job, and now he's been at Magic Leap for 6 months?
9 months.
Oh, 9 months.
Yeah.
So,
Feels like 4 years.
he's a great person, and we're very lucky to have a Turner guy inside Magic Leap, and it gives us a lot of opportunity. So he's going to walk you through sort of what Magic Leap is and what they're doing. Go ahead, Buddy.
And before you start the videos, actually I'll just do the first video first, then I'll stop it. I'm from Turner, which is really fun because, as you guys know, I still have a badge for Turner, so I can still get in and go to the Starbucks. But it is like I've never left them because I actually negotiated the deal that closed with Magic Leap and NBA Digital and Turner, and then I had to be the one to deliver it, that piece of it, which was bad because I would have negotiated completely differently if I knew. But no, the Magic Leap, who's heard of Magic Leap? Who's heard that we've been around a while and never delivered anything? Right, and who's heard that we've actually raised a lot of money, right? So, when we have, but yes, this last year, back in August, we finally launched the Creator Edition, which is basically the developer kit for Magic Leap, where we asked major partners such as Time Warner, Warner Media, AT&T, as well as the indie developer to take a look at this and trust us and actually develop on it, even though we didn't really have I would say a mature framework yet, right? So, but we did, and we've actually delivered quite a few large partner projects already, even though we're still not asking consumers to buy it yet. So for example, the one you've seen right here, we launched a couple of weeks ago, and go ahead and take a look at that.
Senior business correspondent Allison Coffin is following the story up.
So that's what we actually went out with the market. I would say the overall sentiment in social media was positive on this. We did get a really bad review of this, I'm going to call it, of the video. There was some writer from ZDNet who trashed this, saying why would she put this on when she could just watch TV? Right, so that was the question, and of course they didn't look at the app; they looked at the video. Right, so the app is so much more than that. But what he was wanting to do was to make sure that we actually not only be able to present video in new ways in the space, but also be able to then put cool, gimmicky 3D objects in there, right? So, and of course my role is that I'm head of product for over-the-top, SVOD, video, making sure that our big IP partners actually could continue their monetization strategy as we bridge from the traditional, and yes, to me, over-the-top is traditional now. Right, over to what the future is, right? And the future is actually how you tell stories in space without atoms, without video, right? So how do you do that? How do you actually transform the video into your space? And that's really what we're working towards. So it just so happens that we were working with CNN. We actually were working, and what you saw here at launch was a beta. We literally got it out, got TV everywhere working. If you guys know what that is. Doing back-end OTT work is not easy, even though Turner makes it look easy, right? It's not easy to do. And we actually were able to do it in a very young platform and get it done. So we roll the next one. So we actually were doing this in the midst of this really bad review, which of course was a lazy reporter. So this is actually a prototype of what we're doing in CNN now. And we've actually changed the UI a little bit to make it more brand-centric with CNN, but we're actually now going to be playing around, I'm not sure what this video is, playing around with 3D objects, but we're trying to do it in a way that actually is memorable and compelling, and you actually want to come back to it. It's not a gimmick. We don't want to do like a 3D movie where you just stab a sword out. We're actually going to make it where you will remember it and you want to come consume it. So this is actually, remember the Type Cave Rescue? This is the Type Cave Rescue. This is original content that from all the news clips from CNN, they're telling the story, then we're actually bringing it out in real space, so you can actually see the whole landscape component, those little red dots or things that pop up and kind of go through it as the video is playing.
So the idea is to change news concept, right? Spatial computing, which some of you know about, is can you take another layer of news? Can you basically show 2D video, but then bring artifacts into the room to allow people to feel like they're there, to go into different areas of the map, to get people understanding sort of other 3D aspects of where news is going. And we think with Magic Leap's help and our ability with developers and content producers to present news in a three-dimensional facet.
Yeah, and in fact,
we can do that with these guys.
In fact, this is really a bridge. This is a bridge from traditional to the future. Right? How do you actually bring in non-gimmicky 3D objects? See, this is actually the most narrow area that the kids and the divers had to go through. It's like 16 inches, right? So we actually built in flashlights and torches. You can actually go and look through it and see just exactly how narrow it is. But this is just a bridge because we still have partners who actually still have to make money at this. It's one thing to build cool stuff, but what's the monetization strategy behind it? And currently they have the traditional subscription, ad models, things of that sort that we all support. So we bridge that, bring in compelling 3D content that actually is tied and synced to that content, and then bridge it into the new world where now Wolf Blitzer is actually sitting beside you giving the news, right? So how do you do that? And of course, there's a lot that has to happen with that. The technology within the device right now does do that today. The difference is the whole workflow from the studio on has to be revamped to actually present that new storyline, right, in a new way.
So this really quick shows how the boys went through the tunnel, and they didn't realize that as the rain started it would flood. So the characters are basically sort of moving through the tunnel like they're going on a little hike, but they don't realize that they're going to be socked in. I can't do that with video. I can't sort of show people what that experience is like, and then I can't show how they rescued. So this is really, really interesting stuff for us. So you can imagine all the different spatial computing and 3D modeling that we can do. Everything from, elections, the House, the representatives, where they're voting, where the country is going from red to blue. I mean, all these different scenarios that we're just really excited to move to the next wave of where we think news should be told and basically experienced.
And imagine the other industries, especially for Warner Media. If you look at, I would say sports, NBA. We have already launched the NBA League Pass app in it. It actually allows you to watch 4 live games at the same time, anywhere in the room you want virtually. Right? Any size, you can have a 150-foot screen if you want to watching it. We also have brought in their data. They have tons of data, as we all know, tons of data. We actually brought in tabletop player versus player, team versus team, stats visualization component, and that's a bridge into being able to sync that data into a live stream, either a live stream virtually or a live stream at 4K. So you now can watch the glasses and they have all the second screen stuff around you, but never looking down at your phone. Right, so that's the goal. In Arena, we want to be able to take it so that you're never looking. Who goes to sports a lot? So usually you're looking down at your phone from time to time, checking things out. I know that I was with Cuban a few weeks ago, and his biggest challenge is how do you get people in the seats and then looking at the game instead of actually looking at the phone. And that's the biggest challenge. And with Magic Leap, you actually can do that, still check all your Twitter feeds, all your emails, all this stuff, keeping eyes focused on the game, and at the same time since we have data tracking of the player on the court, if he already has that, we can now give you the stats bubbles as the player moves up and down the court. So we can do that today. That is actually available, right? I mean, we don't have it today, but technology-wise, we can do it today. So from what I do, I handle sports entertainment, the consumer component, but then you actually take this into the business world, not necessarily the manufacturing plant. Because this is not a clean room device, but if you look at the office structure where you can actually have a laptop and have 5 monitors around you, 5 monitors don't exist, right? There are no atoms there, but they're all tied together, right? And they can be as big or small as you want. You can actually have project rooms. Everybody here does projects, so you can have project rooms that are global now, right? So and they're persistent and they're there. So your yellow sticky pads, your other notes are never going to be taken off by somebody who just wants to take that space now or erase your whiteboard. So anything like that is available now in the technology, and that's really where we're going.
Yeah, so I think we're all experimenting with this platform. AT&T is a big investor. Like I said, in April you'll be able to sort of get one of these and try them out, and the idea is to get adoption. So just like American Idol drove text, no one knew how to text and sell American Idols. You had to create some kind of social experience. Not a lot of people knew how to tweet until Sully landed that plane on the Hudson River. You need sort of content, IP, to drive a lot of this adoption. So we're excited to play with this, and we're excited for people to play with it as well, build apps, and see where we can help drive adoption for Magic Leap.
And I do hope that ZDNet guy who wrote the story when we launched this actually takes credit for it. I really want him to.
So John, he and I connected, so he has this great job. He gets to go and meet really interesting companies because Salesforce is such a large company. And he gets to meet sort of futurists and sort of describe to them what's going on in the future. And we thought, again, it's a treat for you to sort of him walk you through where he's seeing a lot of the trends and where things are going. So whether it's Chris doing some kind of 2-screen environment where now kids can have a 2-screen experience, whether it's Buddy doing something with Magic Leap and spatial computing and telling stories that are more in depth, these are the kind of things that John gets to look at. So we're going to let him sort of give you an idea of what he does and then some of the things that he's seeing in media.
Hey guys, so I, in a nutshell, I work for our Chief Future Officer, which is a fun title. We call him the Fun CFO. He's basically our head of company global strategy, right? So all of M&A, competitive, tech and product, employee, government, AI, ethics, all that kind of stuff feeds into us, and then we kind of take that to the executive team, the leadership, and top customers, right? Like the AT&T in turn. And because of that, we also have a lot of companies that come to us asking us about the future. Salesforce gets rated as like one of the most innovative companies in the world, like 8 or 9 years in a row. So we're talking a lot about where things are headed. And what I'm going to share with you is just like a very small snapshot of an hour-long presentation I did today. But just kind of showing you some different trends, things to keep your eyes on about like where media and entertainment is actually going the next couple of years. So one to kick this off is really why live events are changing. Live event technology is really, really taking off. There's a lot of stuff on here, but it really shows that when you talk about things like these augmented kind of experiences or the capabilities of connecting your phone with watching something live, you can create something very special. And there are a lot of companies that do this, everything from facial recognition for season pass holders to drones that monitor for security to a lot of things. But the one example I love sharing with customers is this company called Konica. It's probably the most futuristic company I met last year. I'm going to do my best job to explain this really quickly. It is a wetware bioprocessor chip. What that means, and all that garbage, is this is 118 living cells that are grown and they electronically wire into a processor. So this little device about the size of a hockey puck can smell than better than anything on the planet. This thing has within there are cells of like canines and birds and rats and other kinds of things, and they combine all that, connect it to a processor, so literally this thing can smell better than anything. And what they used it for originally was a DARPA project and a military research project, smelling explosives, obvious things you need to do. But they've now moved into traditional areas, right? So you can go to the Toronto airport, and there's a test hallway where you skip all the rest of security. You literally just walk through a hallway. It's got two of these little Konica devices on it, and it knows if you have anything on you, you should have on you. It does better than metal detection and everything else of like actually getting through thoroughfare, like just making an enjoyable experience of literally walking into the airport. There's also some really fantastic stuff they've done here where actually certain types of dogs can smell certain types of cancer. So Kaiser's been doing a test where literally you're going to walk into the doctor's office and there's going to be one of these little Konica devices over the door, and they will make a little checkbox saying, okay, your doctor needs to talk about you, you should have this test follow up, and we can literally tell you have lymphoma because you just walked through the door. There's a lot of applications for this. It's beyond my time frame. As a futurist for Salesforce, our future is 5 years. Anything beyond that is science fiction and a Black Mirror episode. So what this is really saying is that we're just getting really close to understanding biology and how technology is usable and combining these two together. And again, it creates these kind of amazing capabilities that we've never been possible before. And then the next slide I'm going to show is something a little bit different. This was the biggest media event last year, and a lot of people don't know what this is, so I want to explain this. There is a phenomenon kind of going on right now, esports. It's video game tournaments in the world, and this is the League of Legends tournament that was in Seoul, South Korea. This is an event that lasts for 6 days. They had a 100K stadium, completely sold out for 6 days, and they created an amazing new type of halftime show. So this was game developers that made a music video and a new song and created a capability where augmented reality characters were overlaid onto the stage and dancing with Korean pop singers in South Korea to create this new kind of event. And this actually hit 200 million peak viewers. That's twice the Super Bowl. They also had over 6 days, 114 million average viewers, which is 3 times the Super Bowl, which is only a couple of hours. Right? And to show you the scale and the size of this thing, like the video game industry has grown much larger than a lot of people have kind of assumed. Video games are larger than television, music, and the film industry, all of them, and in the next 3 years, it'll be more than all those 3 combined. The amount of money that comes into this, the amount of size that comes into this, if your kids are playing Twitch or in Fortnite and all other kinds of stuff like that, there's a big movement going on. And it's why when Netflix was on their quarterly call, said their competitor is literally Fortnite and Twitch, not all the other OTT platforms out there. Because if you take every OTT platform in existence and you add them up together, Twitch has 5 times the amount of viewers of that combined. So it just shows you that a lot of companies are trying to figure this out. How do you market to this group? How do you reach these individuals? Because they don't read a marketing email, they don't call into a call center, they don't know what a commercial is. They're trying to figure out a different way of marketing to reach these people. So it's a big phenomenon that we really have to pay attention to for the next couple of years. And this last one I'm going to show you is actually a little counterpoint to the entertainment side of augmented reality. And it's something I share at conferences and literally with world leaders around the world because it's had a huge impact in my life. I have 2 boys that are 8 and 10 years old that are autistic and on the spectrum. And we are part of an initiative called Autism Glass, which is a partnership with Google Glass and Stanford Medical Research Lab. So my kids wear the newest version of Google Glass to school. And what it does is it does facial recognition and emotional detection and eye contact detection. So my kids can look at anybody and it'll say, Dad is happy, and a little indicator if I have eye contact or not. It's amazing. I can take the whole rest of this panel talking about all the amazing stuff there. This is hundreds of thousands of hours of therapists with flashcards, with Mickey Mouse and everybody trying to explain emotion to live on the playground. A kid falls down, they know Seth is injured or he's happy, and when can I start talking to him, and how do I get eye contact, and how do I interact with other people? That's where we can use this kind of technology and not make it just an entertaining thing, but more of actually changing lives. This is kind of the new combination of what's capable with machine learning and augmented reality. And you can imagine when Google Glass first came out, it tried a lot of different things that didn't work so well. I mean, beyond the fact that it lasted 30 seconds and melted the side of your head, it was not having a practical use. But the version that they're working on this for the rest of the business world, and would change even a meeting like this, is the one they're coming out with in Christmas of 2020, which is the goal of them currently at the moment, which is I look at anybody of you and it says your name and your job title, and a little checkbox if I ever met you before, and it will completely change the world for people like me that are constantly meeting new people, and I am terrible at names and faces. This is something that everybody struggles with out there in some way or shape or form, but that's a valuable use case. Like that's something that will actually make people put this thing on and use it because it helps them in their lives. So that's how we're going to see this play out in the next 2 to 5 years, that these devices are going to start showing up, but the ones that will win are the ones that will actually have a productive impact on our life, and that's where these will kind of go in mass scale. So, yeah.
Good stuff. So I'm just going to ask the panel some questions again. If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand and I'll get to you. User data. So what I always sort of ask the question of how many people in this room have Waze on their phone? Oh, look at all those people that play on YouTube. Do you ever see their privacy policy? No, seriously, have you ever seen their privacy policy? It is amazing how much data they own about each one of you. They know where you go every day, who you pick, not maybe who you pick up if you go to school, what grocery market, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what's interesting? You don't care. Because they give you what? A value exchange, right? The value exchange is you get to see your kids quicker, you get to see your wife, your spouse. It gives you a value exchange back, so you don't mind giving the data. So I'll basically open up with you, John. User data. It's very, very important. Where do you see this all going with GDPR,
Yep.
maybe California?
Yep.
The reason why I bring this up is because it's part of the reason why AT&T bought Warner Media, is they want to take 140 handsets, combine it with the IP that we have, and deliver personalized experiences to every individual so that we generate more impressions and make more money. Where do you see, the power of user information? Who's doing it well?
Yep.
And what do you foresee that looking like in the future?
I think, in this landscape, there's a lot of pushback right now because of what's going on in technology. People are figuring out the value of their data. They've understood that this is something that companies are using either their benefit or not at their benefit. And you can do some really good things with data and really bad things with data. So it's becoming more on the public stage because of that. GDPR obviously started that as kind of the kickback to say that users own their data. They have the right to be forgotten. They have the right to kind of wipe their data clean. We've been talking with folks in DC and the White House, et cetera, about that coming to the United States, just how it kind of started off in California. I think that there's two kind of major things going here. I think one of them is that just the relationship that companies have with customers, they're trying to understand how to create a valuable relationship that's personalized, or the reverse, that it doesn't want to be personalized. There's always this like battle between personalization and trust going on right now. Right? Like I'm the type of person I would love to go into Marriott and say, hey, Jonathan, we have your restaurant already booked. Here's your key. Your music's playing upstairs. We're all set to go. Hope you enjoy your stay. There's other people that say, I don't want you to say my name. I don't want you to know who I am. I want to get in, get out. If you say anything, it's going to freak me out. There's different customers that you have to answer and speak towards, and a lot of that is around trust. A lot of it is if you trust that company. If they're not just providing you value, they're using values to create value. Right? Like if they're making the right choices with that data, that's an ethical decision. They're using it for my benefit, not the marketing team or the rest of the people that are using it to try to get me to do something. Right? There's a balance between those, and I think the companies that are doing it really well are the ones that are open and transparent and are going to jump in front of GDPR and the rest and say, here's what I know about you. Here's all the information I've collected around the world. This is what I know about you. Is it right? Because half the time it's wrong. And then the other side of it is, if you help me fill this out or share a little bit more information, I'll give you a benefit, right? I'll give you something of value, right? I'll give you ways, right? You give me information, I give you something of value. There's a lot of companies that are doing that really well. Nexar is the one I talked about earlier today, which is a phenomenal company. It basically gives you a dash cam. So you take your cell phone, you have it in front of you, placed it on your car. It has a camera stream that basically records if you're ever in an accident, automatically sends that video to your insurance company. Records if you have to talk with the cops. Does things like if somebody a couple cars in front of you slams on the brakes, it lets you know. So it gives you all this nice stuff, but it's free because the agreement is you are streaming a live video feed to a company that now has hundreds of thousands of cars around the world that are giving them the best mapping data on the planet. Because there's only a certain amount of Google cars that can drive around. Now they've got 25,000 people in New York driving around with a live stream feed. So they get a value out of it, but they're providing you value. And they're being open about it, saying, literally during the sign-up process, you are giving us a live feed of video. That's what the value of this exchange is. And I think that companies that just jump in front of that are going to be the important stage where we have to have that relationship. On the terms and service one, I'll add it too, it's kind of an interesting thing. It's also a fairly generational difference. If you go down to the younger ages, they don't care for a lot of reasons. Like there's a lot of that goes into this, and part of it is maybe they don't understand it as well, but at the same time, they don't care about it if everybody knows it, right? Because when we talk about what technology actually does, we get to this concept of the global village, right? You get more and more and more connected, right? We used to live in little villages, you knew everything about everybody else. You knew if this guy was cheating on his wife, you knew if his kids were sick, you knew if this guy was terrible to work for, like you knew everything about everybody. Cities kind of created that privacy. And we're going the reverse. Now I'm going to know everything about you through either Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or what your dating profile is or all that kind of stuff like that. That's going to be information we all have. It's just going to fall away, right? It's going to fall away where a generation is not going to care about it in probably the next 30 or 50 years. It's in the next couple of years we need to make sure people are doing stuff ethical. That's not a question of like if they care about data or not, it's that they're using it in the right way. And that's, I think, the more important thing that they're going to try to figure out right now.
I'm super sorry. Does everybody know what GDPR is? I'm sorry. It's basically, European Union is clamping down on the amount of data that you can grab from a user when he or she goes to a website. So there's a lot of discussion, California being one of them, where they're trying to basically allow that if you are, say, in San Francisco and you load the CNN.com page, there'll be a button in the top right-hand corner that says, click this button and CNN cannot grab any of your data. And so there's been this push where folks are trying to figure out if that does happen, how do we as media companies sort of figure out what our constituents want and what they want to do? Go ahead.
It's wonderful for me because for the past 20 years we've lived in a world of COPPA, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Right. So every product we've built since, I don't know when it actually came in, but since I've been here in 2000, we've had to make sure we design these without capturing any data, because you don't want your kids, like you don't mind giving up yours, but you don't want to give your kids data for sure. You don't want your kids giving their data. So it's kind of gratifying, and I'm like, yes, now you all have to feel the pain that we felt with COPPA for 20 years. But and again, I go back to that idea of constraints, is like, but we've learned to work around it, right? Yes, it may hurt businesses that are entirely built on data, and it may be a challenge to get there, but it doesn't mean that you can't come up with ideas that sort of don't require that. Because again, COPPA, the way it would work is, if we wanted to actually get a piece of personally identifiable information from a kid, say their email address or even their IP address, to store some information about them completely without guile, without any nefarious purpose, other than to say, next time you come in, we'll give you back where you were. Like if you were at this point in the game, you'll come back and you'll be here. We don't have any bad motives for doing that. We just want to do that, but we can't collect that information. And so we've had to design apps around that and around not maintaining state in that context. Or we've come in, and this is really in the weeds, so give me one second. What we do is we do get their email, then we convert it, we encrypt it in a way that we can't even decrypt and put it on a server. So therefore no personally identifiable information is stored. But if they come in, enter that same email address, and then we put the same algorithm on there and encrypt it again, we can then recognize that's in the database and then take that email they just gave us and then send them a password reset thing, right? So like we've had to create those systems to kind of work around that, and necessity is the mother of invention. We found ways around that, and so now again, I do kind of enjoy watching other people struggle to adapt to this to GDPR.
And from a platform level, being in a brand new platform, you can imagine with what we do, if you're actually trying to interact with space, because in XR world, we're actually taking the virtual world, the physical world, and then having them interact together and then have them interact with you. Right? Yeah. So we have to know what your physical space is. Right? So we have to know. And today it's starting in your room, it's starting in your building. But down the road, if you go to magicleap.com, you'll actually hear something that's called Magic Verse. We actually have efforts going on underway with municipalities of actually creating city-scale verses, right? So you actually can have a singleton digital copy of a city, right, that actually is there, and then you can have an infinite number of themes that you can have on top of it, right? So we can actually have, where you can actually go down, go down to Georgia Tech, and actually you can actually be in a Game of Thrones episode. Things of that sort, and throughout the entire campus, you can do that. You can have dragons flying around. You can do all those fun things that you want to do. But at the same time, you can actually go to a restaurant, down on the corner, maybe the Waffle House over there, and actually leave what your menu was when you ordered the last time. So next time you walk in, you already know what you have that's already there. Right? So you leave these things that are persistent for you forever. You can also make it social, so you can actually then share what you've done in these spaces. So the next person that comes up, your friends come up, you actually now can share what you've already done, and they can actually do the same thing or do something different. So the whole idea is we have all this data that we're collecting. We actually have. We know what your space is, where you've been, exactly what you're looking at, what you're gazing at, how long you've gazed at things. We know all those things. So for us, security is paramount, and privacy is paramount. And in fact, there's always this struggle with major IPs. They want more because they want to do things for the right reasons, and we say no, right? So there's all over those pieces. So Roni, who's our CEO, is very adamant that we will be the most private platform out there because of what really we're asking you to give us in order to give you a good experience.
I think what's interesting is the reason why we bring this up is because we're in the attention business. Whether you jump in an Uber, whether you're ordering food, attention is always being pulled from you. So how do we as a media company, as companies, figure out a way that if I know just a little bit about you, I can basically tailor the content that you're interested in and give me a shot. Give us a chance to win favor with you. What was interesting, Don, you can share with us, he shared, we're very, very lucky to have Stranger Things being shot in the state of Georgia. Thank you to the state of Georgia for giving us the tax credit to make sure these wonderful kids can run around this great state. And we have wonderful sort of icons. You can go up to Emory and see, real life, the Electric Factory if you guys watch Stranger Things. Walk us through what Netflix is doing, which I don't know if you know this, particularly on the different JPEGs.
Yeah, so in user interfaces, the world has kind of moved away from predictive, which is like knowing what you're going to do when you log into Netflix, to prescribing you a path that gets you to do something that's better for that, right? So there's a team called the 60-second crew. It's 100 people at Netflix. Their job is getting you to do something in exactly 60 seconds, which is why when you log in, it's not 5 seconds. They already know that you're going to binge watch your next show. So they alter the interface to change that experience. And it's not just like simple different titles that you like. There's literally 300,000 different versions of the user interface. You logged into Netflix, then there's somebody else. The fonts, the colors, the layout, the trailers, everything else like that are completely different. Now they're even doing it down to the artwork level. So if you see the little tile that says Stranger Things, there are 86,000 pictures that are that tile. And they're going to show you either the romance, the 80s vibe, the monster, all that kind of stuff, like to get you more engaged at the right time, because they want you to understand all the great things that are on Netflix, all the great content is there, and they're also going to want to get you engaged, because if you don't, within 60 seconds, pretty much you leave Netflix. So it's just a lot of trying to figure out, moving away from what people are predicting, but using the data to create the experience that both helps them and you. And another great example, this is the Amazon one.
Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah.
A lot of people do not know this. On Amazon, it says like customers like you bought this item. Everybody just thinks that's the algorithm that's just trying to get you to buy something more. They already have all the money in the world. They don't need anything else. What that thing is actually it's an algorithm that says you are more likely to click on that item to spend more time shopping on the site and spend more time on Amazon, because that's what they care about. They care about customer satisfaction, length of visit, all these other things that are more about you being engaged with Amazon and understand why it's so amazing, not just getting in and out of the site. And that again it's a trying to figure out where's the line, right? Because you could do the reverse of using that data to get it, so I could get you to spend a whole bunch of money that you don't want to on Amazon. That's not valuable. But at the same time, we want you to show you the things that you want to find on Amazon. And it's like, how do you marry those two together? And it's the battle that's kind of going on right now. Like, how do you use this data? What's the right way to use it? A great example would be the autism class one. My kids, to get the red tape, to get my kids allowed to have a camera in school that could record all the other students, everything like that, you can imagine that was a whole lot of contracts, a whole lot of forms to be signed. Every parent had to agree, like with this long process. But at the same time, literally the therapist said this is completely game-changing, because what they could do is it would automatically detect when he started talking with another kid on the playground, and it would record it. And then it would share that with the therapist, and they would go, oh, he needs to learn this skill, he's missing this skill, he's talking too early, he's not sticking for contact, like he's repeating the same thing. Like they use that to help him. And it's like a medical device. If it helps you do the right things, is that a valid way of using the data that we're all okay with? And it becomes this conversation around not just, again, like the data that we capture, it's really why are you using it? Is it at my benefit? Is it your benefit? Is it the benefit of society? There's a lot of big questions that are kind of being answered right now. We even have at Salesforce and at Microsoft and Facebook and a lot of things, we all have these like new AI ethic councils and data ethics councils, and we have a new chief equality officer. Like, we're trying to figure out how to make these the right ways for technologies that are benefit, the reverse.
Did you guys, and I'll ask you, Chris, because you're with the kids, do you think one day people will be able to buy and sell their own data? So if you capture your data and you're like, well, look, I'll give it to you, but you have to buy it from me. Do you see where sort of data becomes, John sort of talked about this today, sort of the oil for individuals to basically, maybe be in that space where it's like, well, look, I'll help you out, but you gotta sort of,
Pony up for it. Not for kids.
Right.
I can't imagine parents.
Right.
Is that self-evident? Yeah. I can't imagine a parent saying like, yeah, I approve you to sell your data. But yeah, certainly I can understand if the trade-off is good enough, I would give it.
Yeah.
And again, I think you're talking about, well, again, what level you're saying is like my behavioral data on that product,
Yep.
or my demographic information, or my income, depending on how far you go. It's like maybe you get better rewards depending on how much you're willing to give.
Yeah.
And watching the free-to-play genre of games, I don't know if you guys play things like Candy Crush, that idea of, I may think this game is absolutely free, but I'm paying lots of money for it. So that idea of game makers in particular at being very smart about manipulating you and hit just the right moment, and this is a rough design, dark pattern, but it's just the right moment to appeal to your emotions, to pull that money out of your wallet. I can imagine them doing the same thing if they're trying to get your data. It's like, sure, yeah, shut up, just give me my fix.
Yeah.
And I'll give it to you.
Jared, can you pop up a browser in that, or you?
Yeah, sure, tell me.
The only reason why I asked is if you get a chance, pull up Amazon.com, because what happened 2 days ago, they announced that their growth for ads on Amazon.com is greater than Facebook and Google. And the reason why, can you get, I don't know if you can, but if you can, you can't. So what I want Jared to do is go into Amazon. How many people are Amazon fans? Use Prime, order food, toilet paper, and then watch Miss Maisel, which I think is probably the best show on TV.
Yeah.
Or not, is it TV, by the way? I just said TV, that's so weird. But what's happening is that now, again, we're competing against attention. We're competing against ad dollars. So all these revenue models are changing. So do me a favor, type in dog food at the top. So do you see this sponsorship right here? They're selling that just like they do on Google, and they're making a ton of money. You know why? Because they're targeting dog food owners. So what Amazon is telling advertisers, hey, guess what? I know all the guys that are buying dog food. Do you want to get in front of them? And do you want us to create creative? So they're actually selling potentially cost per click higher than TV. So it's compromising our revenue streams, right? So we're trying to basically, and the reason why I bring data up to you is because it can help us personalize content so that you open our content, we give you great experiences. You should try, by the way, the Netflix exercise. So, spouses, you open up and then, males open up and females, and you'll see it. It's unbelievable once you see, like, oh my God, I get a different JPEG. Because we're trying to basically create these personalized experiences. So this dog food analogy is someone is paying top dollar to get in front of the right person. For you, buddy, revenue on the Magic Leap side is going to be sort of something that they're going to figure out, whether it's a subscription product. What's the philosophy for Magic Leap and where their revenue they think is going to come from? Where do they think on that platform people will start to basically either subscriptions or advertising like this? Where do you think it's going to come from?
I think it's almost the same categories as any other platform that's out there. Maybe with a twist, and that is you are going to have the subscription pieces. You're going to have the app store. We already have an app store there that I think we even have a $13 app out there. I'm not sure why, but we do, and people are buying it right now. But we do have an app store that, of course, there's a percentage that goes to the developer, percentage that goes to us, depending on if it's a one-time versus an annual subscription, things like that. So it's a very common model, but we also have, of course, we're a hardware platform as well. So you have the hardware component, and with our partnership with AT&T, that actually is a standard model as well. Where it gets a little interesting is in the Magicverse when we start introducing and start mapping together cityscapes, or the cityscapes are actually starting to come together, or even enterprises are coming together with the cityscape, and you actually can start actually evolving different experiences together as you just walk down a street. I think that model from a microtransaction side for Magic Leap is going to be an interesting scale model for us of how you do that, how you bring people on board to, for example, I'm just going to throw it out, but I don't know if this is true or not. UPS, if UPS wants to create a Magicverse within one of their buildings, how do we do that? How do you actually charge them for it? How do you do microtransactions? How do you do those pieces? But there's a revenue model there that is going to be a global revenue model for XR and spatial computing as you actually start wearing devices where you don't even know you're wearing the device, and you're just interacting with the real world, with the virtual world. So I think that's really where from a platform level and even from a content provider level, I think that is where the revenue model becomes very interesting.
So we're actually, it's amazing, like it's almost 8 o'clock. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Like, that's like awesome, I went by so fast. Are there any questions out here? Does anybody want to be non-bashful and have questions? It's okay, but yes. Please.
I would think that when you're bringing kind of alternative reality to reality, I would think that safety would be an issue with regards to. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
But basically, particularly maybe Buddy, what are we doing around safety? So in other words, when you're enjoying your content, and I did see there was a component where you can actually see through the content, but how to warn people of folks maybe enjoying content within that Magicverse, so they may not run into somebody, or may even run into a line that may be passing them by on Georgia Tech.
Yes, it's a great question. With Magic Leap, it's a little different than VR. Actually, it's a lot different than VR. VR is a very immersive experience. You're isolated into a different world that's created for you. We're really not doing that. What I mentioned with Magicverse is that you literally are walking down the street of Georgia Tech, and you simply have mapped different things onto the buildings, right? So you still are in your own space. You're still walking down. You're still seeing people. You're still interacting. You're still having a conversation. You can still even be on the phone if you want to do that. So everything is still there. So there really isn't a safety issue in that piece. Where it does get a little tricky is that I have played with some esports concepts that allows you to either watch esports in a dollhouse mode, so you can actually watch, say, Counter-Strike 5-on-5 and in real time, or you can actually blow it up to actually you're walking through the map as someone's coming at you and trying to get a headshot from the guy behind you, right? So you can do all of that, and as you go and go into full scale, that is more into quote-unquote VR mode. But even in that mode, unlike VR, is that you still are aware of your physical walls. I actually blew this thing up to full scale, walked half through my building, just walking through the map. It was that big. The maps are that big. And then I got scared just by people running at me with guns. But you can do that, but I never ran into a physical wall. And I never ran into a person who was walking through my walls. On that piece of it. So you can do that, but generally Magic Leap is about interacting with the real world and keeping you in the real world.
I would say one thing I'll add to that as well is I think that in general, it's something that's going to happen in the next couple of years is that AI is going to understand context. There's kind of this moment right now where we have machine learning, it's a whole lot of data that can answer simple questions. But to do something like self-driving requires context, right? It has the understanding, it's not just the cyclist there that I identified, it's all the things that, they're riding a little bit unsafe, they're coming into my lane, he's acting weird, I need to slow down, right? If I show you a picture of a cat, it's not just, it's a picture of a cat, it's white, it's fluffy, it's your neighbors, they hate cats, you saw it yesterday, like it's all things human beings do really quickly. That's required for safety, and it actually is a helpful thing they're talking about, which is called the tech silent bubble. So for example, like in context situation, if I'm walking on the street and I see somebody else and I've got my augmented reality glasses, it might say, hey, this is Jonathan, his kids just posted this, you saw him last week, we're gonna give you like little prep, and what's gonna happen is as you get closer, all technology shuts off. because they want to value the human interaction, and literally it'll do things like silent your phone. Your earbuds will maybe block out the street. Like you're gonna have like a direct connection with somebody, and that's an important piece of understanding context. Because, for example, like we're getting buzzes on our phones like while we're up here on stage. It should be smart enough to know, don't bug me right now, like I'm on stage. You know, it's these things that like executive assistants do really well for CEOs of the world that make them vastly more productive, that kind of protect them, saying like, here's where your schedule is, here's what you need to know at the moment, here's the email you need to read out of the 50 you just got, like it's context. And that will be a big part of this, right? Where it's going to understand when to turn off technology, when it's not valuable for the user. Is it, you know, the right amount? Is it a healthy using, right? All the stuff that Apple's been making the play around screen time and the rest. We're going to have technology that's smart enough to know when to shut off and actually how to help people a lot better. So.
Any other questions? Yeah, in the back.
My question is about innovations in entertainment for clinical use, such as the autism glass, and then it's my understanding that there's some research for virtual reality for Alzheimer's.
Yep.
So, is there going to be any type of clinical trials like they do for prescription for this type of media use?
Yep. Oh yeah. No. Autism classes had to go through several of them, and it's they're on their like third version of the trial to show the actual value that it provides versus typical ABA therapy and all the rest. But even things around like the virtual reality stuff, there's been several clinical trials around using it for teaching folks how to deal with PTSD, right? Because it's a safe environment they can put on the headset and actually experience the sounds and the other things in a closed, kind of safe place that they can do this to kind of build up resistance to it so they don't overreact to it. Or phobias, there's like even studies they've done where they use virtual reality to train people to not be afraid of heights and spiders and all that kinds of like that, because your body has this weird moment where it thinks, okay, this is a bad thing, but then they realize you're sitting in a chair, don't worry about it. And it like kind of trains you to how to handle it. There's a lot that's gone into space. You know, Kaiser, United Health Group, Cigna, Anthem, you know, Novartis, et cetera. The list goes down the line. They're all working on this because it creates a lot better environment.
Yeah, and if you look at Google this, I know a ton about it. I know it's out there. Magic Leap in Hospice. There's actually an article out where we actually did a trial of actually putting Magic Leap on hospice patients to help the transition, and the results have been phenomenal on those.
I'm going to take one more question. And then the good news is I got to catch a plane, so I'm being selfish. These guys will be here, so we'll take one more question. Go ahead.
Okay. My question is about 5G and
Okay.
the rollout.
Yeah.
And basically, I don't know if a lot of people are aware, but the latency is so much lower. You can do remote surgeries, and there are many more applications. What are you seeing in the timeline for the rollout of 5G? I know it's in Atlanta, but it's not prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, and I'll answer it. We've had some discussions because it kind of touches all of our worlds. Chris and I are trying to work. Obviously, AT&T wants to drive adoption. So what IP does Chris have? What IP does the company have to get people to basically want to participate with 5G? I personally think it's going to be a long haul. If you know anything about 5G, you have to have radios that are only 1,000 feet apart. And so some guys screwing those in on the sides of buildings all over the place. But there's an insatiable appetite for 5G. I think what we're trying to do is help our company sort of get more adoption of 5G. And it's gonna, I believe, take a while. Will there be hot zones in cities where there's density, where people can leverage this type of capacity? But by no question about it. I was in Barcelona for the Mobile World Congress. Everybody, every telco on the planet is trying to figure this out. Because what's happened to wireless, it just gets commoditized. So they're losing margin every day, right? So I think it's gonna slowly roll out. I think we're gonna be supportive in the IP that we have. And again, I think, you know, all of us probably have a lot to say about that. Guys, you wanna just chime in with that just real quick and give your sort of point of view?
Yeah, I know from Magic Leap side, we do have a partnership with AT&T. In fact, I feel like we're cousins, right? So,
yeah.
But yes, Magic Leap will be you imagine the data that we pass through this device, and how much faster you can actually get to your experience, and with, I would say, even low or no latency, right? In that piece of it, and so that's the path that we're going down. And if you look at, sports entertainment, because there's actually so many different industries we're working on, but the sports and entertainment industry, especially with the betting that's going on right now, that piece of it, is that being able to do in-arena betting on prop bets with zero latency is key. And so you're going to be seeing in these sports venues, they're actually going to try to get you in the seat. And one of the value props for that is going to be actually 5G, zero latency prop bets, right? So that's coming.
So I'm sorry, did I go first?
No, go ahead.
Gaming, like everything I think about tends to be about gaming, and anything that gets me into a game faster is gonna propel, I believe, that technology forward, right? So I think you'll see streaming gaming. You're seeing lots of announcements. You've seen a lot of announcements, but I think that'll just ramp up faster. We have a company that was started in Latin America in Turner that was really built because the hardware is so expensive to get there. And so if we get to the point where streaming games become so easy that you don't have to worry about expensive hardware, that you can just get any game you want at any time you want because the processing is happening somewhere else, I think that is an enormous game changer. And I kind of wonder at that point how, it's my phone, how powerful these are going to be in those worlds where everything's done, all the computing is done somewhere else. And so but that's why I think the killer app is going to change that and going to propel it forward. And I think for me, that's always going to be gaming.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, like you're going to see a big announcement from Google and the rest on the 19th around this, like there is gaming as a service, right? Like to imagine Netflix, but for video games. The concept that you're going to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation or the rest and need that expensive hardware compared to just stream it through my browser is going to change a lot. And especially like a lot of people don't even know this, like even Fortnite, which has hundreds of millions of players on there every single night, like I think it's like 76% of the game runs on AWS, not on your phone, because there's no way the phone could run Fortnite. So that's just kind of a push of like where the technology is going, where the majority is run on the cloud. And in general, that just will speed this all up, because if I can have 5G and I don't have to buy an Xbox, then I would want to do that, and that will just drive things much faster.
And it's already weird for us. I mean, watch the sort of the smartphone, the tablet revolution change things. The number of apps people were downloading, at the time they would try everything. And now, for whatever reason, that burden of clicking the download button, go to the store and buying it and having it downloaded is burdensome. We know that for kids, that they just don't download that many apps anymore. So the idea that I can just access any game without thinking about a download, without that psychological barrier, as small as it seems like it should be at this point with our fast internet speeds, eliminating that is going to even improve it more.
So I'm going to cut it, but listen, we really appreciate you guys coming here. It's 6 o'clock and you could be with your families and friends and spouses, and we really appreciate you coming. We hope this was valuable for you. Jared Dent, one of our favorite people on the planet, thank you for organizing this. And again, we're around. You can reach and talk to us anytime you want, and we hope we exposed you to new ideas in media, and hope that when you look at Amazon when you're about to buy something, like, hey, this guy told me about that ad. Or when you go home and you're looking at your Netflix, you're like, honey, look, you're getting a different JPEG than I'm here. Just like, whatever, honey, I just want to watch it. Like, these are things that are happening in the background that's trying to make our media companies competitive in the real world, because it is the attention business. And we have to do the best job we can to provide you consumers a value exchange. So really, thank you so much for coming tonight. And these guys will be around, and hope to see you guys all real soon. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. We have some gifts for you. Chad, come on. And while he's handing out those gifts, just a couple quick announcements. We've got a few more events coming up in the near term. We've got a few more casual setting meetups that we call them. So keep an eye out for on your email. I know you get a lot of emails from us. We really appreciate you taking a look at those. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. I think we're actually going to launch Instagram soon. So we're going to step up our game a little bit. Right. But we got another meetups coming up, and we have another event in the almost beginning of summer, our Startup Buzz event that some of you have been to many times before. So keep an eye out for those. And really, again, thank you all for coming. And thanks again to our fantastic speakers. Thank you.
We need Jared to plant. That would be nice.
So when, I'm sorry, I didn't